What would make a billionaire leave his entire fortune to a dog? The truth will leave you speechless. You know those moments when life throws something so unexpected at you that it feels like you're living in a movie? Well, this isn't just another story. This is my story, and I still can't believe I'm the one telling it. Before you continue reading, you might want to sit down for this one, because what I'm about to share changed not only my life, but everything I thought I knew about loyalty, love, and the true meaning of family. My name is Michael Anderson, and until 3 years ago, I was just another struggling graduate from NYU, drowning in student debt, and sharing a cramped apartment in Brooklyn with 2 roommates. That was until I spotted an unusual job listing in the New York Times. Personal assistant needed for Upper East Side resident. Must love dogs. Excellent compensation. Discretion required. Little did I know that responding to that ad would lead me to the magnificent limestone mansion on East 70th Street, where I first met Jonathan Winchester III, one of New York's most enigmatic billionaires. The moment I stepped through those imposing oak doors, I knew something was different about this place. The mansion was eerily quiet, save for the soft padding of paws against marble floors. That's when I first met Max, a scruffy golden retriever mix with the most intelligent eyes I'd ever seen in an animal. Winchester was nothing like I expected. Instead of the stern, corporate titan I'd imagined, I found myself face-to-face with a man in his late 60s, wearing well-worn jeans and a simple cashmere sweater. His silver hair was slightly disheveled, and there was a sadness in his eyes that all his billions couldn't seem to erase. But when Max trotted over and placed his head on Winchester's knee, I saw something transform in the old man's face, a glimpse of joy that seemed to take years off his appearance. "Max approved of you the moment you walked in," Winchester said, scratching behind the dog's ears. "He's never wrong about people. Never." There was something in the way he emphasized that last word that sent a shiver down my spine. I would later learn just how right he was. The job interview was unlike any other. Instead of discussing my qualifications or experience, Winchester spent most of the time watching how I interacted with Max. He asked peculiar questions about my views on loyalty, family, and whether I believe animals could sense things humans couldn't. At the time, I thought these were just the eccentric musings of a wealthy old man. I couldn't have been more wrong. I got the job on the spot, with a salary that made me dizzy in a suite of rooms in the mansion's east wing. But there were 3 non-negotiable rules. First, Max's comfort and happiness were to be prioritized above all else. Second, I was never to question Winchester's decisions regarding Max, no matter how unusual they might seem. And third, I was to keep detailed daily logs of Max's behavior, especially anything that seemed out of the ordinary. That first night in the mansion, as I lay in bed trying to process my sudden change in fortune, I heard Max whining outside my door. When I opened it, he was sitting there, staring at me with those knowing eyes. He turned and started walking down the hallway, looking back as if expecting me to follow. Against my better judgment, I did. What I discovered that night in the mansion's library would be the first of many mysteries that would eventually lead to the most shocking revelation of all. But before I tell you what I found, you need to understand something crucial about Winchester's past. A tragic series of events that would explain why a billionaire would trust his dog more than any human being on Earth. And trust me, once you know what I know, you might just do the same. The library discovery that night would haunt me for years to come. Following Max through the dimly lit corridors, I found myself in Winchester's private study, where a wall of photographs caught my attention. In the center was a beautiful family portrait. Winchester, his wife Eleanor, and their 3 children, James, Sarah, and little Thomas. But something was odd about the frame. It was turned slightly askew. When I adjusted it, a hidden compartment clicked open behind the bookshelf. Inside, I found a leather-bound journal. Its pages filled with Winchester's meticulous handwriting. The first entry was dated October 15th, 2015. The day his world shattered. His family had been driving to surprise him at his office for his birthday. A simple, loving gesture that ended in tragedy when a drunk driver crossed the median on the FDR Drive. There were no survivors. I should have been with them, Winchester had written. Instead, I was closing the Thompson merger. Numbers on a screen were more important to me than my family's birthday celebration. I chose wealth over love, and the universe made me pay the ultimate price. The journal entries that followed documented Winchester's descent into despair. He withdrew from society, canceled all business engagements, and contemplated ending it all. That's when Max entered his life. Not through careful selection at a breeder or fancy pet store, but through what Winchester described as divine intervention. On a particularly dark night, as Winchester stood on his penthouse terrace contemplating the void below, a scraggly stray dog somehow managed to get past security, up the service elevator, and onto his private floor. The dog was injured, hungry, and desperately in need of help. Something about saving another life pulled Winchester back from the edge that night. But this was just the beginning of Max's inexplicable behaviors. The journal detailed dozens of incidents that defied logical explanation, like the time Max refused to let Winchester board his private jet, the same jet that later experienced catastrophic engine failure, or how the dog would grow agitated hours before Winchester's rare heart condition would act up, giving him time to reach the hospital. As I read through the journal, Max sat beside me, his eyes never leaving my face. Then suddenly, his ears perked up and he began barking frantically. Moments later, the mansion security system blared to life. Someone had breached the perimeter. Through the study's window, I caught glimpses of shadowy figures moving across the moonlit garden. Max's behavior shifted from alertness to aggression, something I'd never seen in him before. I reached for my phone to call security, but the lines were dead. That's when I heard Winchester's voice behind me. "Now you know why I chose you, Michael. Tonight is just the beginning of what Max can do. Those people out there, they're not burglars. They're my own flesh and blood. And they've been waiting years for me to let my guard down." He handed me a USB drive and a sealed envelope. "If anything happens to me tonight, everything you need to know is in here. Max knows what to do. Trust him like I do." Before I could process what was happening, the power cut out, plunging the mansion into darkness. In that moment, I heard Winchester whisper something that would change everything. They never knew about the second will. The sound of breaking glass echoed from downstairs, followed by footsteps. Max's growl grew deeper, more purposeful. Winchester gripped my shoulder and said words I'll never forget. "What you're about to witness will challenge everything you believe about the boundaries between animals and humans. Watch Max carefully tonight. He's not just protecting me. He's protecting an empire built on a secret that could shake Wall Street to its core." The next few hours unfolded like scenes from a thriller movie, but this was terrifyingly real. Through the darkness, Max led Winchester and me through a hidden passage behind the wine cellar, a tunnel system dating back to Prohibition that Winchester had modernized for emergencies. As we moved silently underground, Winchester explained everything. "Those people upstairs are led by my brother-in-law, Robert Sterling," he whispered, "CEO of Sterling Pharmaceuticals. What they're really after isn't just my money. It's Project Genesis." Max's ears twitched at the mention of the name, and Winchester nodded as if they shared a secret. Project Genesis, as Winchester revealed, was the reason behind his immense wealth. His company, Winchester Biotech, had discovered something revolutionary, a genetic marker that could predict and potentially prevent degenerative brain diseases. But during testing, they found something else, an unprecedented breakthrough in interspecies neural connectivity. That's where Max came in. Max isn't just highly intelligent, Michael. He's patient zero. Winchester's words hung in the air as we reached a state-of-the-art bunker beneath the mansion. 7 years ago, we discovered that certain animals possess a unique genetic sequence that allows for enhanced cognitive abilities and emotional intelligence far beyond what we thought possible. Max was the first successful subject of a limited trial. Security monitors showed the intruders methodically searching the mansion. Leading them was a tall man in an expensive suit, Robert Sterling himself. They were after Winchester's research files, but they didn't know about the real breakthrough. Max wasn't just enhanced. He had developed abilities that defied scientific explanation. The night my family died, Winchester continued, his voice breaking, Max started acting strange hours before it happened. He tried to prevent James from driving that day. He knew. Somehow he knew. That's when I realized we'd created something beyond our understanding. The monitor suddenly showed Sterling's men, discovering the hidden study entrance. Winchester quickly accessed a computer terminal, initiating what he called Protocol Omega. Alarms blared throughout the tunnel system. Michael, what I'm about to tell you will sound impossible, but after tonight, you'll understand why my fortune can only go to Max. You see, he's not just protecting the research, he's protecting humanity from it. In the wrong hands, Project Genesis could be weaponized. Imagine armies of enhanced creatures, corporate espionage using animals that can sense future events, mass manipulation of the stock market using predictive abilities we barely understand. A loud explosion rocked the bunker. They'd found the tunnel entrance. Max's demeanor changed instantly. His eyes seemed to glow with an almost human intelligence. Winchester pulled out a small device that looked like a thumb drive. This contains everything. The true scope of Project Genesis, the real reason behind my family's accident, and why Max must inherit everything. Sterling's men didn't just happen to find my family that day on FDR Drive. It was orchestrated, but they never expected Max to become what he is. He's not just a successful experiment, Michael. He's evolved beyond anything we imagined. And he's been waiting for this night. Max walked to the bunker's blast door and sat down, his posture rigid, eyes fixed on the entrance. Winchester turned to me with an urgency I'd never seen before. What happens in the next few minutes will change everything. Watch Max carefully. You're about to witness why a billionaire would trust his entire fortune to a dog, and why that might be humanity's only hope. The blast door began to glow red from cutting torches on the other side. Max stood up, and what he did next made me question everything I thought I knew about the boundaries between animal and human consciousness. What happened next defied every law of nature I thought I knew. As Sterling's men breached the blast door, Max stepped forward, and the air around him seemed to ripple with an invisible energy. The first armed men who entered suddenly stopped in their tracks, their weapons dropping to the floor as they clutched their heads in agony. Neural disruption, Winchester explained calmly, as if he'd seen this before. Max can emit specific frequencies that interfere with hostile neural patterns. But that's just the beginning of what he can do. Robert Sterling stormed in, his expensive suit covered in concrete dust. Jonathan, you senile old fool. Did you really think you could hide Project Genesis forever? He pulled out a gun, but before he could aim, Max's eyes locked onto his. Sterling froze, his face contorting in horror. What is he showing me? Sterling stammered, the gun shaking in his hand. The truth, Winchester replied. Max is showing you exactly what happened the day you murdered my family. He's projecting the memories directly into your mind. Everything he witnessed, everything he sensed before it happened, and everything he's gathered since then. I watched in astonishment as Sterling fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. Through Max's mental projection, we all saw it. Sterling had orchestrated the accident to gain control of Project Genesis, believing Winchester would be too devastated to continue his work. What he hadn't counted on was Max's evolution. You see, Michael, Winchester continued, Max isn't just enhanced. He's become a bridge between animal consciousness and human cognition. He can access and share memories, sense impending dangers, and even influence neural patterns. But most importantly, he can identify those who would abuse this power. The USB drive Winchester had given me contained documentation of Sterling's elaborate scheme, falsified research data, bribed officials, and a network of corrupt pharmaceutical executives waiting to exploit Project Genesis for military applications. Max had spent years gathering this evidence, using abilities that blended animal instinct with near-human intelligence. "That's why my fortune can only go to Max," Winchester declared. "He's not just a dog. He's the guardian of humanity's next evolutionary step. The money isn't for luxury. It's to maintain a global network of enhanced animals who work together to prevent the abuse of this discovery." As if to demonstrate, Max projected another series of images into our minds. Dozens of animals across the world, each with similar abilities, working in harmony to protect their communities from disasters, prevent crimes, and safeguard crucial ecological balance. Sterling's men began retreating, their minds overwhelmed by the truth they'd witnessed. But Sterling himself remained frozen, trapped in the mental projection of his own crimes. "The SEC will be here within hours," Winchester said. "Max has already transmitted all the evidence to secure servers worldwide." But suddenly, Winchester clutched his chest and collapsed. His heart condition, the same one Max had warned him about so many times, had finally caught up with him. As I rushed to help him, he grabbed my arm and whispered, "There's one last thing you need to know about Max and Project Genesis. Something so incredible that it can only be revealed after my death. The true reason why." Before he could finish, his eyes closed, and the emergency medical alert Max had triggered brought sirens wailing in the distance. As paramedics rushed in, I looked at Max, who sat regally beside his fallen master. In his eyes, I saw not just intelligence, but a profound sadness and determination. Whatever Winchester's final secret was, I knew it would change not just my life, but the very future of our world. The days following Winchester's death were a whirlwind of legal proceedings, media frenzy, and earth-shattering revelations. As Winchester's body was laid to rest beside his family, I found myself at the center of a storm that would reshape the foundations of science, ethics, and our understanding of consciousness itself. The reading of Winchester's will send shockwaves through Wall Street and beyond. As promised, his entire $16.8 billion fortune was left to Max, with me named as the legal executor and caretaker. The public reaction ranged from outrage to amusement, with headlines like "Barking Mad." "Billionaire leaves fortune to Fido" splashed across every newspaper, but it was the contents of the sealed envelope Winchester had given me that truly turned my world upside down. Inside was a letter, a DNA test, and a final confession that would haunt me for years to come. "Dear Michael," the letter began, "if you're reading this, then I'm gone, and the full truth of Project Genesis can finally be revealed. Max isn't just an enhanced animal. He's a successful fusion of canine and human DNA, carrying the consciousness of my son, James." My hands shook as I read on. Winchester explained that on the night of the crash, James had been barely alive when emergency services arrived. In a desperate attempt to save him, Winchester had used an experimental Genesis protocol to transfer James's fading consciousness into Max's enhanced brain. The process was meant to be temporary, Winchester wrote, a way to preserve James until we could clone a new body for him. But something miraculous happened. James's consciousness melded with Max's in a way we never anticipated. He retained his human memories and intellect while gaining Max's heightened senses and instincts. The result was an entirely new form of sentient being. The DNA test confirmed it. Max carried genetic markers from both the original canine and James Winchester. This explained Max's extraordinary abilities. He wasn't just an enhanced dog, but a human-animal hybrid with capabilities beyond our wildest imaginations. Winchester's letter continued, revealing the true scope of Project Genesis. It wasn't just about enhancing animals or curing diseases. It was about unlocking the next stage of human evolution. Max/James was proof that consciousness could transcend the boundaries of species, opening up possibilities that were as thrilling as they were terrifying. "The fortune I've left isn't just for Max's care," Winchester explained. "It's to fund a secret global initiative. There are others like Max around the world. Humans whose consciousness we managed to save by transferring them into enhanced animals. They form a hidden network, using their unique abilities to protect humanity from threats we can't even comprehend. As I tried to process this information, I heard a soft whine behind me. Max, or should I say James, sat there, his eyes conveying a depth of emotion I now understood went far beyond animal cognition. He placed his paw on the letter, and suddenly my mind was flooded with images and emotions. James's memories of his family, the terror of the accident, the confusion of waking up in a new body, and the years spent learning to navigate this new existence. The implications were staggering. Not only had Winchester's team found a way to cheat death, but they had created a new form of intelligence that could revolutionize everything from medical research to environmental conservation. But with this power came immense responsibility and danger. Your role now, Michael, the letter concluded, is not just to manage our fortune or keep our secret. You're to be the bridge between our world and theirs. The future of human evolution is at stake, and the challenges ahead are greater than you can imagine. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a news alert. Unexplained phenomena were being reported worldwide. Animals displaying unprecedented intelligence, natural disasters mysteriously averted, and breakthrough scientific discoveries happening at an accelerated rate. I looked at Max/James, understanding now that this was just the beginning. What do we do now? I asked, feeling the weight of this new reality settling on my shoulders. Max's eyes met mine, and for the first time, I heard a voice in my head, a blend of human intellect and canine instinct. Now, Michael, we change the world. But first, there's something you need to see, something that will show you the true power and peril of what we've become. The revelation of Max's true identity was just the beginning of a journey that would take us to the farthest corners of the globe and the deepest recesses of what it means to be human, or something beyond. Over the next year, Max/James and I traveled the world, connecting with other Genesis subjects. Each encounter left me more awestruck than the last. In the Amazon, we met Sophia, once a brilliant climatologist, now inhabiting the body of a jaguar. Her enhanced senses and human intellect had allowed her to create a complex model of the rainforest ecosystem, predicting and preventing ecological disasters before they could occur. In the mountains of Tibet, we found Dr. Aiden Chun, a renowned neurosurgeon whose consciousness now resided in a snow leopard. He had developed a way to use his enhanced nervous system to perform remote surgeries, saving lives in areas too dangerous or remote for traditional medical care. But it was our encounter in the depths of the Pacific that truly showcased the potential and the danger of Project Genesis. Here, we met the most ambitious subject yet, Dr. Ileana Cortez, a marine biologist whose mind had been transferred into a genetically enhanced sperm whale. Her massive brain, combined with human intelligence, had allowed her to map the entire ocean ecosystem and communicate with various marine species. She revealed a looming ecological catastrophe that only the combined efforts of the Genesis network could hope to avert. As we worked to tackle this global threat, I began to understand the true weight of the responsibility Winchester had placed upon us. We weren't just protecting a scientific breakthrough. We were safeguarding the next step in evolution itself. However, our work didn't go unnoticed. A shadowy consortium of government agencies and corporate interests, led by some of Sterling's former associates, had caught wind of Project Genesis. They saw it not as a means to save humanity, but as a weapon to control it. The hunt was on, and we found ourselves in a race against time to protect the Genesis subjects and prevent the technology from falling into the wrong hands. It all came to a head one stormy night on a remote island in the South Pacific. Our team of human-animal hybrids faced off against a mercenary army equipped with technology designed to neutralize the Genesis subjects. As bullets flew and the storm raged, I watched in awe as Max/James coordinated our defense, his human strategic mind working in perfect harmony with his canine instincts. In the heat of battle, Max/James turned to me, his eyes glowing with an otherworldly intelligence. Through our now perfected mental link, he shared a vision of the future, one where the boundary between human and animal consciousness was not just blurred, but transcended, a future where humanity could experience life through the eyes of every creature on Earth, fostering a level of empathy and understanding that could finally heal our planet. But achieving this future would require a sacrifice. To defeat our enemies and secure the future of Project Genesis, Max/James would have to push his hybrid brain to its absolute limit, risking the complete merging and possible loss of both his human and canine selves. As the battle reached its climax, Max/James looked at me one last time. In that moment, I saw not just James or the dog Max, but something entirely new, a being that represented the best of both human and animal. With a final nod of understanding between us, he leapt into action, his body glowing with energy as he unleashed the full potential of Project Genesis. The resulting psychic shockwave ended the battle in an instant, but the consequences reached far beyond our island. Around the world, humans and animals alike felt a momentary connection, a glimpse of a consciousness that bridged all living things. In the aftermath, as I cradled Max/James's exhausted form, I realized that Winchester's legacy was far greater than mere billions. Project Genesis wasn't just about saving his son or creating enhanced animals. It was about giving humanity a chance to see the world through new eyes, to understand our place in the grand tapestry of life on Earth. As news of our battle spread, bringing Project Genesis into the light, I knew that the world would never be the same. The lines between human and animal, between consciousness and instinct, had been irrevocably blurred. And as Max/James stirred in my arms, his eyes holding both the wisdom of humanity and the untamed spirit of nature, I understood at last why a billionaire would leave everything to a dog. For in this new world we had helped create, it wasn't about being human or animal anymore. It was about being alive, connected, and part of something far greater than ourselves.